This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Tired of losing in fantasy sports? Times are changing. Now it's just you versus the numbers. Prize Picks is the perfect place for you whether you are the biggest sports fan around or you're a seasoned vet in the daily fantasy space. On Prize Picks, you simply select 2 to 5 players and predict if they will go over or under their fantasy projection. Think Denny Hamlin is going to win the big race? Take his over and win real cash today. Prize Picks gives you the chance to win 10 times your money for getting 4 predictions correct. Entries are so simple. They can be made in less than 60 seconds. Sign up today at prizepicks.com or on the Prize Picks app and use code DIRTYAIR, that's DIRTYAIR, DIRTYAIR, to get a 100% match on your first deposit up to $100. Prize Picks truly is daily fantasy simplified. Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 21 of Dirty Air, your number one podcast for all DFS gambling-related NASCAR talk. I am your host, Ryan Baumel, Gambling DFS Tips on Twitter. I'm back from a little hiatus last week. As always, I'm joined by the two guys that pick up the slack when I'm not here. Jason, DFS NASCAR on Twitter. Jason, what's up?
Hey, what's up, Ryan? It's nice to have you back, man. It's good to hear your intro back and the nice smooth flow. It's nice to have you back in the saddle, man.
And the other side of that, Brandon Cruz, DFS on Twitter. Brandon, what's up?
Howdy, and nothing much. Just glad you're still here.
Me too. That's always a good thing. Let's start where I always start. Jason, last week in Nashville, good race, bad race. What'd you think of it?
I thought it was a pretty good race. I think the 750 horsepower package delivered again. I think we saw, some cars and drivers kind of pushed their limit a little bit. Obviously we saw some equipment failures. You hate to see that, but at least you know they were pushing this equipment to the limit. You got Nashville created kind of like an interesting dynamic for the race. I didn't have a lot of high hopes with the Cup Series after watching the Xfinity race and the Truck Series race. It didn't seem that great, but I thought the Nashville race for the Cup Series was pretty entertaining. It went on forever though. I don't understand why the race took so long, but from a fan standpoint, enjoying. It was, like I said, it was nice seeing the guys push their limit. Obviously, it's Larson, man, just dominated the race. it's just crazy to watch him at this point now. It's just exciting to see if he can just keep dominating these races like he is.
So, and I'm gonna ask Brandon the same question before I get to him. Jason, you brought it up. I wanted to ask you real quick about the length of the race. Is it just a weird similarity that the two races that seem to go on forever this year are the two at the new tracks? Where at Coda, obviously, we had the rain and we had all that crazy stuff. And then this week felt like it seemed to go on forever. Is that just a coincidence, or is that going to a new track?
I think it's probably that they didn't anticipate maybe that the laps were going to be as slow as they were, maybe. I don't know if since it was a shorter track, more laps, and they just thought maybe the speed was going to be a lot faster than it was. Obviously, we had a lot of cautions, but it just seemed like even the stages when it was running green, it's like, man, is this stage still going on? I think it just has to do with just a little bit shorter track, maybe a little bit slower than they anticipated.
Brandon, what were your thoughts on the race, expectations going in, and what'd you think of it afterwards?
Yeah, I didn't feel like the race went any longer than it didn't feel slow for me. If anything, the first stage went by incredibly quick for me. I don't know if I was doing something or what, because I enjoyed the race. I just didn't feel like it was slow. I saw people saying that. I don't know.
It wasn't slow. It was just long. It was over 4 hours. The broadcast. It was a long race. As when you think about that's typically what we see at Coca-Cola 600 is a little over 4.5 or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't.
But it was definitely entertaining. I don't think it was slow, boring. That's why it seemed long. It just was a long race.
Yeah, interesting. It's wild how it was almost like they were racing at Chicagoland with a real race car again, or the old Texas. It's wild. Yeah. You give these guys horsepower, and the race is fun to watch.
Yeah, it's nice to see that they could overdrive a corner, or somebody could just wear the shit out of their equipment because they're not used to it, right? They're not used to braking going into the corner on these tracks, and some of these guys are just probably riding the shit out of that brake, just overcompensating, going into carrying too much speed. And just saw equipment failure. Like I said, yeah, that was what makes for an entertaining race. Because at any point in that race, as much as Larson was dominating, you kept knowing something could go wrong here. If he's been pushing this too hard, like he could blow a tire, ruin a rotor. It's just stuff like that you don't typically think about on these Charlotte, Texas, stuff like that.
All right, so I've got a couple questions. We can go into a couple different people. The first question I wrote down during the race was for Brandon. Brandon, for Quinn Hoff, did they just not put the tire on right? What happened?
Dude, holy shit, man. Like,
that wasn't even a tilt.
I already
that was just like, I'll just take it right away.
This live show this week, it's going to be it's Derek Cope all over again, man. It's fucking wild. It's wild. The days I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go 100% Quinn Hoff. I'm going to go 80% Derek Cope. What's the worst that can happen? He finishes last. He gets me 2 points. Oh, yeah, like I'm real scared about that. Yeah, the guy didn't put the wheel on. At least that's what I'm assuming. Nobody really did any reporting because they don't care about how.
So the wheel just wasn't on properly, and then so it's basically just like driving a flat tire and just straight into the wall, and then it was done?
No, the lug nuts weren't on. That's what I'm assuming happened, unless they had a catastrophic suspension failure where, both the spindle and the control arms got yanked off. But I'm pretty sure they just didn't tighten the lug nuts. And then I'm all for watching drivers die, but can you imagine how scary that is for Quinn Hoff? Like, the poor guy, he's not, you're not even thinking about that. And a first corner, you can't stop, you can't do that was wild. He's lucky it didn't happen at Pocono.
Yeah,
he's lucky he was starting at the back and he wasn't in the middle of the pack.
Yeah.
That's probably the worst possible start you could ask out of any kind of like a punt situation. I mean, just he can't kill me too bad, and like this is terrible. Yeah, that's bad. Luckily, I didn't have any Quinn Hoff, but
it was so funny because I was like, my first run I had him optimal at 7 points and then 10 points. And then if he gains like 6 positions and gets 14 points, I'm pretty sure he's optimal. So I was like, okay, fuck it, I'm gonna just go 100% on Hoff, and then I'll play Hoff. I love Ryan Blaney. Okay, I'll go overweight on Ryan Blaney and Quinn Hoff. So that's gonna go well. And so yeah, I feel bad for Quinn because that was not his fault. Not his fault at all.
So on the other side of that, Jason, we've talked about him for the past couple weeks coming in. A second place finish for Ross Chastain, another good effort for Chastain. I mean, seems to have somewhat figured it out in that 42 car, huh?
Man, dude, I'm loving watching the watermelon, man. I mean, it's awesome. He's definitely ran a lot better in the 750 horsepower package. I mean, you've seen him. He's running consistently like top 15 or so in that package. And just the last few weeks, I mean, just being running inside the top 5. The team has taken some risks with pit strategy that sometimes has cost them and sometimes has paid off. But I mean, you kind of like that, right? You like a guy who's going to take some swings and maybe get some pickups in track position and run top 5. But he's definitely outperforming, I think, a lot of people's expectation for the season. It's fun to watch, and we'll just see how it goes going forward. Hopefully, we get to see him smashing a watermelon at some point soon.
Brandon, 2 cars in the top 5 for Stewart-Haas is not something we've seen much of this year. Eric Almirola, finally a good finish. He had a 4th. Harvick had a 5th. What are your thoughts on the Stewart-Haas cars?
They just need to practice. That's all it is. Eric's been wrecked pretty much every week. Like he's getting involved in accidents that are not his fault at all. And I was just happy that they were able to qualify for that team. That's what they needed,
Yeah,
go ahead.
No, I was just saying it's nice to see him right up front and like you said, just have a clean race and not get caught up in the bad luck and come home with a top 5. I don't know what that means for him going forward.
So, in terms of a couple guys finishing inside the top 10 that people may be projected to have good weeks, but not necessarily top 10 finishes, Jason, Stenhouse and Suarez, 6th and 7th, I believe. 2 good efforts for both of them. Stenhouse is one of those guys that seems to be somewhat consistent, at least more than he normally is as a Ricky Stenhouse. And Suarez, I mean, consistent all year.
Let's talk about Stenhouse. I mean, the way he came out and like the performance he put up this week, like running like top 3 of the whole race. I mean, it was like one of the fastest cars in the race. I mean, he's ran well all season, but like what we saw Sunday was very impressive. And I just don't know if that just goes a lot to like like I know when we talked to Brandon when they're Bristol Dirt and you talk about how good Stenhouse was with his equipment on the dirt tracks and how good he took care of equipment. Did that come into play on this track that was more heavy braking? He was able to save his equipment better and had track position and just maybe the braking was able to play into his talent a little bit better. So yeah, it's definitely encouraging to see out of that team moving forward. And Suarez, yeah, that team continues to I don't know if they're overperforming or just this team's just that good. I mean, just consistently running inside that top 14, top 10 all season and finding their way. And like I said, they're a team that just does not quit.
So this is a week where I didn't follow what I was telling myself. Like in the live show Sunday, I said Chastain can win this race. It's just up to him. But this car can win this race, and I didn't play him. And then I was like, Suarez is going to run extremely well. I think, and then I don't play him. I don't get to him, man. I just missed this week. But Suarez, I mean, I think that team's legit, and we know that now, obviously. But going into the year, like these are the expectations that 23-11 had. You know, like it's almost they've completely flopped of what those teams should have done.
I think what's even like more encouraging about this Trackhouse team, right, is like I know like through the early part of the season, like we were seeing them have success on the 550 horsepower package, and we were like, okay, they've been able to run top 20 speeds on those tracks. And then we saw them struggle in the 750 horsepower package. But it seems like they caught up. We saw, in a track that looked like a technical track that took some driving skill as far as managing tires, managing car, braking. And for Suarez to come out and have a great run like that, that's definitely encouraging going forward. And it should give you some confidence moving forward, playing him at like a price tag like we're seeing this week, starting 14th.
So, Brennan, we can't just not talk about him because he wins every week and it gets repetitive. But as Jason just said, this is a track where it wasn't necessarily just the fastest car that was going to win. It took some driving skill. Is it now are you pretty confident in saying that Kyle Larson is the best driver in the best car this year?
We've been saying that since what, March?
Yeah, we've been saying it for a while.
Yeah, it's not like he just showed up at Nashville. He had the fastest car the whole weekend.
But for the people saying he's driving the fastest car, he is the most skilled driver.
He is driving. I think he's that's what it is.
It's like he's definitely like a great driver, but there's other great drivers in the field that who knows, We see the ebb and flows of these things all the time, Yeah, Larson's had a great 8 weeks, right? Nobody would have said Larson was the greatest driver 2 years ago, So we just kind of see how it goes. You don't know what kind of situation may happen and who gets what ride. And Chastain could end up in the 88 or something and just freaking blow the doors off everybody.
So the one team that did struggle mightily was Penske. Logano finished with the 10th place. He was seemed like one. It almost seemed like, and maybe I was wrong. It seemed like from 4th or 5th to like 10th to 11th, all those kind of cars were kind of similar in speed. They kind of all were somewhat close to each other in terms of that. But then when you dropped outside of it, Keselowski was never close. Blaney had issues early, and Matty D. Would he lose a cylinder early? I don't know what happened there.
Blaney wrecked.
Yeah, Blaney wrecked. So you can't really go to that. I think the biggest concern out of Penske is like BK, right? Because Brad Keselowski has not looked right for a few weeks. His team's looked bad. Like Logano's shown speed here and there, can do some pit strategy, and can prove to like run up towards the top 6 or 7 when he gets the track position. But Keselowski and that team has struggled to run like top 14 for weeks. Am I just remembering that wrong, or is he? He has been running terrible, right?
Yeah, I haven't used him recently, and I don't think there was high expectations. Do you think that has anything to do with him going to Roush Fenway and doing all that? Is there any validity to that, or anybody?
I'm looking at his finishing. Like he hasn't been horrible. If you compare that to everybody, okay, 24th.
What's his last run?
24th, 15th, 11th, 19th, 16th, 21st, 3rd,
That's
1st,
pretty bad,
14th,
right?
Brad Keselowski not running in the top 10.
4th,
I'm
2nd,
talking about the last
16th,
recently, like 5 to not have a top 10 in the last 5 races. That's pretty significant for Brad Keselowski, right? I know everybody goes through stretches, but that's rough, right?
Kyle Larson was the worst driver for about 3 weeks earlier this year. when he did 18th, 40th, and 19th. That's pretty poor. Or Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 33rd, 34th,
So I'm
20th.
looking too much into it, is what you're saying. But I mean, it just seems like he hasn't even like ran there. Like I can understand if it was bad luck, like he had a tire go down, lost a lap, but it just seems like the team has just missed.
Crashed his car getting onto the track like his teammate
he's always
did.
been like that. Keselowski's always been like that. Like last year, he wasn't anywhere in the conversation until we got to like New Hampshire and Richmond.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I think that's a little overreacting there.
So, Jason, earlier in the season, it was Kyle Larson and Martin Truex. The hell has happened to Martin Truex in that 19 team? I mean, they haven't even been competitive.
Oh, man, you guys are crucifying these poor guys.
I mean, but these are guys that you expect to, at the very least, even if they're not going to finish great, to be at some point of the race be like, this guy's somewhat in contention. Obviously, we know Hendrick has dominated that, whatever. But it's like there've always been a couple of guys that have run towards the top. Truex has been nowhere near the top. Keselowski's been nowhere near the top. During the race, how many times have you heard these guys' names? That's what it comes down to.
I really think it's people. I don't know if they're paying attention to like last month worth of racing, but like Truex finished 23rd at Nashville. We ran Sonoma. Hello, he finished 3rd. He almost won that race. Just because he ran.
The one road course he finished 3rd. Truex's past finishes 22nd, 3rd, 29th, 35th, 19th.
1st, 6th, 31st.
Right,
5th,
but that's what we're talking about recently.
But why are we focused on the last 3 weeks of a road course?
Isn't that what we always talk about? We talk about recent form and how fast their cars have been recently. Like we haven't been talking about track history.
That doesn't mean anything when we're using different racetracks.
I understand that, but when you're looking at Texas and Charlotte and Nashville, are they not similar enough?
Are you using the All-Star race? What are you doing?
No, but I'm just saying these kind of tracks. I'm not saying the race. I'm saying the tracks themselves.
No.
I mean, so you have no issue that Martin Truex has one top 20 in the past 5 races, or 2 top 20s, 1 top 20 in the past 4 races. That doesn't alarm you at all?
No, not at all.
I think it will me. Like as far as like I know, like I haven't been on Truex for the last couple of weeks because of that. Like I faded him last week, starting from back in the field, just because he hasn't ran good. He was slow in practice. He gave no indication that he was going to be good. And yeah, he was able to slowly work his way up to the top to 10th, I think, at one point. But I didn't feel like he was going to go out and get a top 3 and like crush the slate. Like I figured at best maybe like an 8th is just seems to be where he's been running. Like he just hasn't shown a lot of speed the last month or so. But and like I know that's going to kill me at some point, but at some point you make your money by finding these like if a guy begins to struggle, like the sooner you can get off of him, if he is like in a slump, the better, right?
But yeah, but like I'm with you. Like I didn't play Truex last week. I told people not to. I didn't see him get in there. Are we answering this question on like a DFS situation or like a real racing situation? Because either way, like,
I'm not saying Martin Truex isn't going to win the championship because he's struggling right now. What I'm saying right now is, until he shows something where he's gone back from this cold streak, I think it's tough to play him or trust him.
But like, what has he not shown? So like, okay, Dover, JGR as a team whiffed. Coda, he's about to win the race and he dies. Charlotte finishes 29th, 3rd at Sonoma. I mean, we got these road courses, and then we got a track that these teams never been to. With Charlotte, like I think we're overreacting to this guy. Like we're doing the exact same thing we did to poor Eric Almirola earlier, basically telling him to retire, and we're looking at Truex being like, "Oh, Truex, you're having a bad month. You need to quit." Like,
but then wouldn't we have made a little bit more money by not playing Almirola for 4 weeks after we had that conversation?
I only played him once. So
right. I mean, that's what I mean, though. So I mean, it does affect your DFS. I mean, it does affect your strategy going forward if you know a guy who, like I mean, with Truex, I don't know. Like, do you expect him? Like, could you see paying, let's say, in a vacuum, like 10-5? We can't do that. It's hard to do in a vacuum, but because each slate's different. But I don't know. Like, it's worrisome when you haven't seen like that Dominator speed, right? When a guy that you're paying Dominator dollars for.
It happens every week.
It does.
What are we talking about? There's only one 10K guy that works each week, pretty much. Like, what do we argue? What are we using that for an argument for?
I mean, I guess I don't know.
I just think I just think it's crazy. You can say you're not worried, but to say Truex hasn't struggled, I think even that's a stretch.
No, it's not. What are we
It is.
talking?
It
No,
is.
It's not.
He won 3 races. He won 3 times in 8 races. He's got 1 top 20 in his last 5 races. That's struggling. If he was Bubba Wallace, you wouldn't call it struggling. He's Martin Truex.
Yeah, he struggled because he got killed in the rain. Like what?
That's one race.
Let's find other people.
Every race has an excuse because it's either a new track or it's a different track or it's guess what? That's what it is. We're going to do new tracks. We're going to road tracks. We're going to different tracks. He's been good at the road tracks and outside.
I don't understand this whole. I don't know why we're ganging up on Truex right now. I don't understand that.
It was with Keselowski too. It's just these guys that are underperforming. You expect Truex to have 1 top 20 in 5 weeks? I mean that's
what is underperforming?
You expect him to have 1 top 20 in 5 weeks. That to be his best finish. Like a top 5.
I don't know what this argument is. I don't understand this. Is Chase Elliott trash now? Is he on the downwards?
I like Chase, no.
You know, does Blaney need to quit because he blew a rotor this last week?
No, I don't think I don't really look at finishes. You know, I just watch the races, and like when you don't see him running up towards the front. I mean, at least not recently. Like I said, maybe it's just over. Like I said, maybe it's just recent bias. Maybe it's just giving us something to talk about. I don't know. But when you're picking these guys, especially if you're playing like a couple lineups, you know, you got to make decisions, and you got to figure out like how you're going to base those decisions on. Are you going to base them on like would you have more confidence in starting a guy like obviously Larson, but you have a guy more confidence starting a guy like Chase over Truex right now or Byron over Truex right now?
But even that Chase thing that Brandon just said, I mean, that was like a troll job because he got disqualified and he's had like 8 top 5s previously. Like Martin Truex hasn't finished in the top 5 since 2012. Feels like. Like you like seriously, you.
See, like this has to be like in your guys' brain. Like what is going on? Truex.
Like, I just don't know how we can say 1 top 20 in 5 weeks is not struggling for Martin Truex. He was the favorite along with Kyle Larson to win the championship. I'm not saying
he still is. What are we arguing about? Like Hamlin is okay, maybe not like Vegas, but like what are you talking about? It's
I'm talking
Larson,
about the conversations
it's
every
Hamlin,
week were Larson and Truex. It's no longer Larson and Truex. The conversation
it changes throughout the week. It was Hamlin and Truex earlier, or it was Hamlin first. It was Hamlin and Truex, then it was Hamlin and Larson, and now like
right. But it changes because Truex is struggling.
All right.
That's what I'm trying to get across.
All right.
Everyone struggles. What do we?
I give up. Let's go into this.
We're getting nowhere, man. We're treading water. Like
is there anything else we missed from last week? I know Ryan Blaney crashed his car getting onto the track.
I think we covered last week pretty good. Yeah, it was a lot about. Last week was all about Martin Truex struggling. So.
Yeah, I guess if that's your takeaway from Nashville, all right.
I played 0% Truex and Keselowski, and it made me a lot of money. That's all I'll say. All right, let's get on to this week. So this week, 2 races at Pocono. So it's a doubleheader. So we'll focus mainly on the first race. We'll get into the second race a little bit, but the first race is kind of where we have all the information and everything. First race is Saturday, 3 p.m., the Pocono Organic CBD 325, 130 laps. 25 laps stage 1, 52 stage 2, 53 stage 3. Top 5, Larson, Byron, Harvick, Logano, Kyle Busch. Jason, we are at Pocono. What are your expectations?
Well, Pocono is a 2.5 mile long track. Typically, we see a lot less laps than what you would typically see at a normal track. What do we get? Like 140 laps this week? You already said that, right? 140, 150.
130 in the first race, 140 in the second race.
Yeah, so that tends to be is the dominator points tend to be down on these races. You're not going to see those typically huge scores like you would see. You're not going to see those 100+ point scores in the last year, first race at Pocono, the highest point score was 72 points, and it was 86 points in the second race, and that was with, obviously some position differential because it was the swap day. Dominator points last year, the highest we saw anybody get was 28 points, and I think the year before that we saw Kyle put up like 40-something. So I'm just saying you're not seeing a ton of Dominator points here, so this is probably shaping up to be, Pocono typically shapes up to be like a one Dominator type build with position differential. Position differential seems to pay off quite a bit at Pocono.
Brandon, similar thoughts on how to build it?
So here's my takeaway. Let me answer this in Two parts. So I'm going to look at track history. I think this is a track history race. However, for fantasy, I'm only looking at last year's races for lineup construction. This is a spitting image for lineup construction. Since it's the doubleheader weekend, they're most likely going to invert the top 20 because that's what everybody's assuming, because NASCAR still hasn't announced what they're doing yet. Pretty much all the reporters are assuming that NASCAR is doing the same thing, to where Sunday is a top 20 invert, and then the rest is squared away with their formula. And so I'm going to argue that. I think it's a complete dominator type of race because we're not qualifying here. The fastest cars, the guys who are going to get all those place differential, are the guys who are going to be leading laps. And so, like, when you look at last year's race, the Sunday race, like, obviously Eric Almirola started up front, so he led a lot and got a lot of fast laps. But when you're looking at people like, using last year's race for an example, okay, sure, Harvick got 8 place differential points, but he still had fast laps and laps led. Hamlin started third. He still led laps and got fast laps. And so when you look at the starting grid, you had Eric Almirola starting first. You had Denny Hamlin starting third. You had Christopher Bell starting 36th. Obviously, that was that situation. And then place differential with McDowell and Buescher in that optimal lineup. And so the way I'm looking at it is, if I'm projecting people to lead laps, whether they're starting, like Truex for 15th or Hamlin, wherever he's starting this week. I just went blank. Like, I'm playing them because I think they're going to lead laps. I'm not just playing them for place differential.
Yeah, and I think that's what it comes down to. I think like I may have misspoke when I was like, oh, one dominator build, but like what I'm meaning like that is like, you're typically like, if you're the one guy, like you're paying up typically for one like guy who's going to score dominator points. Like you can probably try to find some laps led in like that 9K range, maybe even that 8K range. But as far as like dominators 10K and up, you're most likely going to try to cram like one of those guys in your lineup. I would think, and then position differential probably from there. Like I said, you probably find some. Go ahead.
Let's go through these 10K guys and decipher who we would kind of take to potentially be the dominator. Obviously, Kyle Larson is top of the board this week. He's 12.5. Chase Elliott's 11K. Martin Truex 10.7. Ryan Blaney 10.2. Kyle Busch 10K. Jason, thoughts on the guys above 10K?
Well, I mean, the first thing let's touch on is, let's talk about Kyle Larson, right? I mean, everybody knows Kyle Larson's the lock, put him in, right? I think this actually is an interesting week to fade Larson. Only because, like, what we just spoke about, there's not a ton of dominator points on the table. So Larson going out there and, like, breaking the slate is not something that we would expect, and he's priced at 12.5. This is a lot higher than what we see people priced at dominator-wise at Pocono in the past. I mean, the last optimals saw Harvick at 10.1 and Hamlin at 10.2, almost $1,300 cheaper. So, I mean, just what he has to do to pay off that salary, especially in Pocono, is a race where pick strategy comes into play, to where people can pit before the stage break, stay on the lead lap. I can kind of throw off track position at times. And we can see him get buried back in the 10th or 11th at the start of stage 2 and not rack up a ton of points that you're expecting. And maybe somebody else step up. So this is one of those weeks where I think it might be interesting to fade Kyle Larson. I know it sounds crazy, but I mean, just as far as like the risk reward, I don't think it's like the risk of him going out there breaking the slate to where you can't cash without him is slim.
Well, it's the same thing as last week and Martin Truex Jr. It's just depending on what you project him at, you either see him being worth paying up for or not. Like, I think I assume Larson's probably going to be very popular in cash. Right now, I have him projected for 73 points, and I don't have him in my highest scoring lineup. I have it focusing more on people like Ryan Blaney, people like Denny Hamlin, people like Eric Almirola. So it just depends on how many laps Larson leads. And I do want to add this one thing. So, like, race 2, I don't want to talk a whole lot about, because I think race 2 is purely looking at lap data from race 1, because race 1's the practice for that. And last year we saw the people who were good in race 1 were good in race 2. And so race 1 seems to be like the race where if you want to take a stab, or if you want to try and get off of what the public is doing, race 1 is the one to do it, because everybody's going to be looking at the same data in race 2.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes this an interesting build if you are fading Larson in that and he does not struggle, but if he just doesn't perform like everybody's expecting, because he's going to be 60% owned, right? If Fade and Larson, you can play guys like Elliott and Blaney together and get that position differential and pair in a guy like a Harvick or a Byron who are much cheaper, who has that, who could be a guys who take advantage of Larson's struggle if he misses the setup off the plate, or who could beat him off a pit road on the competition caution if they pit, just things like that. Those guys are starting from with them. So, I think that makes for an interesting build.
So I think I think Larson's going to be closer to 40, but I think there's a chance that Larson kills this race. I really do. Like I don't see the need to fade him completely, and I don't mind being on the field with him at 40% because he was great at this track in old equipment. Like, this is not a track Larson was struggling in, and so
right. And like I said, it's not my thought isn't about like him struggling. It's just about like if he gets buried deep. I mean, it could definitely pay off.
What ownership percentages for, I'd assume, the highest 3 owned guys in that range, Blaney, Chase, and Larson? Do you think Larson higher than Chase? Chase comes somewhat close to him. What do you think on that? Because Chase obviously starting 29th. A lot of place differential there. That's just an open-ended question.
Go, Jason. I'm waiting for you.
I think he might be frozen.
Oh, he died. Okay, well, I'm gonna. Hopefully, it's still recording. Let's see.
It says it's still recording.
Okay. Yeah, he just died. I'm gonna assume that
He's back.
Oh, he's back. Hello, Jason. You still there, driver?
Maybe not. He moved.
He's moving.
Yeah,
now I can hear you.
You there?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Are we still recording? Do I gotta quit?
Yeah, everything was still recording, I think. I don't know. We'll have to go and have to mark this to edit, or are we good?
No, it was good. It was such a great question. You were so stunned. You didn't really know how to respond.
That's right. You guys were frozen. Like, I hope he's not asking me a question.
No, I was just asking in general. The ownership percentages between Larson, Chase, and Blaney. Do we think Chase gets close to Larson's ownership? What do we think in terms of those three's ownership?
I would say Chase has to be close to Larson. I don't know. It's interesting to see if more people will go Blaney since he's cheaper. I don't really know. It's interesting. They should all be pretty close. I think it'd be like probably 50, 45, 40, something like that. I don't think it's going to be too big. I don't think you're going to find leverage between one and the other. Do you, Brennan?
I don't know. Right now I'm looking at Blaney. I also really like Hamlin. Like, this seems like a week where I would love to play Hamlin, Keselowski, Harvick together. Like, I think ownership's going to be spread out for the first race.
Not that Truex fella though. Starting 15.
I'm gonna play
like
him.
that leverage
I'm gonna play him.
Seems like that leverage play starting 15.
Yeah, because he's bad. He needs to retire, right? So nobody's gonna play him.
No, but is he not the leverage play in that 10K range? Nobody's gonna play him with people playing Blaney, Chase, and Larson, right?
No, I think he gets outscored by like Chase. Like that. That's not fair. Because like if I have,
he's right.
Yeah, like if I have Elliott projected for 59 or 60 points, then I got Truex projected for 51. Like that's not a fair comparison because Chase easily outscores.
I understand obviously with that, but Truex has got to be what, 15% owned? He's gonna be low owned because nobody's gonna
play
him.
Is he that bad? Like, I feel like it's just you guys.
No, but you can't. But with Larson, Chase, and Blaney, with the place differential up here, and Larson, I don't think people are gonna play him. You think people are gonna play him? I mean, just said.
Yeah, I think so.
What do you think he's gonna be? What do you think his ownership is gonna be?
I haven't ran stuff. The pricing just came out like 20 minutes before we did.
I bet it'll be 15%. I don't think it'll be
really.
I don't think nobody play him. Nobody play him.
Why would you had the same reaction when I just asked you? You're like, well, I have Chase and Blaney projected for more. Why would I play him? That's what everyone's gonna say.
And Larson?
Well, then if that's the case, like I feel like Truex is a better play than Larson. So, like I would imagine Truex comes in like 25, 23. Like that's why I'm asking. Like, is it just you guys thinking?
Maybe it is.
Like,
we'll see.
I haven't heard this at all. Like, where is this Truex's bad coming from?
No, nobody said he's bad. Like, I don't think you're putting words in it.
He's struggling
recently.
But even like this week, even if he wasn't struggling, it's like he doesn't have the place differential the other guys have. He doesn't have what everyone else has with Kyle Larson. Like Kyle Larson, like that's why I think people aren't going to play him. Not because he can't perform.
All right, let's not go down the fucking Martin Truex Jr. road again, please. Let's not do this. Okay, let's just.
No, but that's what I'm saying. The leverage plays in the top 5 seem to be Kyle Busch and Martin Truex.
You're right. Yes, I'd much rather play Kyle Busch and Martin Truex.
Really?
Yeah, I think I would. Yeah, right now for this race, yeah, I think I'd play Kyle Busch over Martin Truex.
That's interesting.
Yeah, Kyle Busch. I mean, he's been
then
fast.
I'm playing Truex for sure now because I hope
Kyle Busch has been better on these tracks than Martin Truex over the last 2 years, and Kyle Busch has been better in this package than Martin Truex this year. So yeah, I would probably play Kyle Busch over Martin Truex for $700 cheaper when he's at least got some dominator upside when I don't think Truex has any.
All right, so let's get into the 9K range. The guys there, William Byron, he's at 9K. Kevin Harvick, 9,300. Keselowski, 9,500. Denny Hamlin, 9,700. Jason, what's your interest in this 9K range?
9K guys I'm looking at here, like Denny Hamlin's nice for 9,700, starting 10th. He's been good, ran good here at these tracks in the last couple of years. The tracks I've been looking at, like Indy, Pocono, are the two tracks I look at last 2 years, how they ran there. And then just seeing how they've ran so far in this 550 horsepower package this year, this is really the only way I can gauge what kind of speed these guys are going to show up with. And Hamlin's been fast in this package. Harvick and Byron are also interesting. Starting second, third, like I said, is nice. If you are fading Larson and playing that position differential up top, I have interest in going to these guys as a potential dominator. I think Harvick. I mean, if we look at the way Harvick's, I know like. We look at all kinds of data about Harvick and how good he's been, but I mean he's been really good at Indy and Pocono last 2 years, and you got to like how he's been seeing the speed pick up out of him in the last few weeks. Starting third, I mean I could definitely see him getting out there and leading some laps this week, so it's an interesting play.
Brandon, your thoughts on that 9K range?
I love Hamlin. Hamlin's my favorite play going into this week. I think he's underpriced. So I'll probably be overweight on Hamlin. I like Harvick as well for the same reasons that Jason brought up, and like it's the same thing with the Truex, man. Everybody's like, "Oh, Harvick's struggling. What's wrong with SHR?" I like SHR a lot this week in general. I think this is the week to really hammer Custer and Briscoe and Eric. So that's where I'm at.
Here's the thing, like with the Harvick, right? Like we saw that he was struggling, right? And I think it kind of, at least it hampered like how much I played him, right, in fantasy over the last few weeks or however so. But it's not like he's made me pay for it by doing that, to where like I've missed him. I still have potential now to still catch Harvick as I notice him running better. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's not like I've missed the train on Harvick by noticing he was struggling early. So I mean, it could be the same thing with Truex.
All right, so let's get into the 8K range. Right below that. So Joey Logano, 8,800, Alex Bowman, 8,600, Kurt Busch, 8,400, Christopher Bell, 8,200, Chris Buescher, 8K. Jason, thoughts on this range?
Man, I don't know. This range is I initially like the guys obviously stood out to me. I mean Buescher. I mean we're chasing position differential. Buescher's the guy in this range starting 25th. Has been pretty good in this package this year. I mean, we've seen the team the Speed's had. I mean, this historically isn't a great place track for him. I mean, he did finish 10th here last year. So, I mean, that's a little promising. He had a couple top 20s the year before. So I think he's probably the most obvious play. I think a lot of guys will be on him. But, I mean, Christopher Bell's a guy starting 9th for 8,200 who has, he ran well here last year. He had a 4th place. I mean, he ran well here in both races. I mean, really, he showed some speed. He came from the back to the front in that first race to Pocono last year. This could be a track that just plays into his driving style. So I'm interested in playing him at 9 because I know like nobody's probably going to play him here for 8,200.
Brandon, your thoughts on this range?
I'm not as high on Bell. I like Reddick more. I like Austin Dillon more. I like Eric Almirola more.
Otherwise, we're going to 8K, man.
I know, but I know, but I don't like this 8K range. Like,
yeah,
I'm
then
not
you
high on
could
Logano.
you could just I would just say that you're probably not going to venture into this 8K range much and drop down to that 7K range if that's kind of going to be your strategy.
Yes.
So if that's strategy, well, let's get into the 7K guys. We can go over them real quick. Matty D,
Let's see if we get to that really quick.
Almirola. Well, you said you're not going to play him. If you're not going to play him, why talk about him? Right? I mean, is there anybody you want to talk about? I asked you about the 8K range, and you started talking about guys in the 7K range.
I mean, Jason's the one who brought it up. I thought I answered. Maybe I'm cranky today. Maybe that's why. I'm very, very cranky today. Yeah, I don't like the 8K range. So let's please kindly move on to the 7K range.
All right, so the 7K range. Matty D.
Can we talk about the 5K range first? I mean, Jesus Christ.
No, those are the ones that they put their tires on wrong. That's what we learned last. Or that's the 4K range. Sorry.
No, that's a 4. That's no.
Yeah.
Okay, 7Ks. Let's go.
7K.
Let's let Brandon pick it up because he had it. He was rolling into it. Let's go.
All right. So Matty D 71, Almirola
takes
73,
over.
Austin Dillon 77, Tyler Reddick 79. That's called being a good host. Is for the people that are listening in their car and don't sit in front of a DraftKings screen and have their pricing in front of them. Oh, I wonder what guys are in the 7K range. Well, good. Ryan's going to tell me before Brandon tells me which ones he likes. So Brandon, who do you like?
Well, I assume that these people like can read and they have like 4 days to look at this type of stuff. Like this is on a Wednesday night. I'm assuming they're going to see the pricing at some point this week before they make lineups.
Okay. 7K range.
7K range, Brandon. Who do you like?
Same guys I said. I like Reddick. I like Dillon. I like Eric Almirola.
Jason?
Yeah, I think the guy who interests me most in this range is going to be Austin Dillon. He's a guy who starting 12th, track position. He's ran better than Reddick on this package this year. He's not quite shown the position differential, obviously, opportunity that Reddick does. But obviously, yeah, I have some interest in Reddick. Almirola, like Brandon said, I mean, he put up 2 great runs here last year. Not only, like I said, we already mentioned he ran well at Pocono the first race, but he backed it up in the doubleheader. You got to like the speed he showed this past week, starting up, towards the front, track position. At this price tag, you really don't even finish like top 8, top 7, but he does have that top 5 upside, so you definitely like that moving forward.
So I guess then the one question is for this range is in terms of Matty D, he starts 21st, so there is some place differential. No interest really there for either of you guys with him?
I don't. No.
So I probably have like I like Reddick a lot as a play this week, really based on his track history. The glaring 35th and 30th place finishes tend to scare a lot of people off. But I think Matt DiBenedetto and even Chris Buescher as well, I know is in the AK range. But I think these guys are going to draw a ton of ownership here. Like, it's probably going to be Briscoe first, DiBenedetto second, and Buescher third in this range for ownership, just because they're really, really safe plays.
So I guess then in terms of it, it's more of he's probably going to be more popular than you'd like. If he wasn't going to be as highly owned, then maybe a guy you'd take a shot on is Matty D, Brandon?
Yeah, because we've seen that he runs well. Like, I have to... Like, I think him and Eric Almirola are very similar in terms of their projected finish. Like, I would project them both for, like, a 7th place finish. And based on that, like, if one of them finishes 7th, one of them finishes 8th, it's going to be DiBenedetto right there. So in order for people like Reddick, Dillon, and Eric Almirola to work, we need, Briscoe to have a bad day. We need DiBenedetto not to work. We need Chris Buescher not to work. And so those are the situations that I'm comfortable with. Like, I would just rather take the lower owned like Tyler Reddick versus Matt DiBenedetto.
And really, you only just need a couple of those guys to not work. Like, because you'll be probably pairing that guy with one of these other guys, more chalky guys, right? So you just really need to be hedging against a couple of the guys who do best. That's typically the play goes out.
All right, so this next range, there's a different kind of group of guys. You've got some guys with some place differential, then some guys that start towards the front and maybe can kind of run up towards the front for the majority of the race. Chase Briscoe, 6,900. Chastain, 68. Stenhouse, 66. Suarez, 65. Eric Jones is 64. Custer, 63. Pre, 62. Bubba, 61. And LaJoie is 6K. That is the 6K range, Jason. Briscoe, I think, is one that probably initially jumps off, at least to me. Same to you, and anything else in this range?
Yeah, I think a lot of Bristol's going to jump off to everybody at 6,900. He's going to, work well with a lot of salaries. At least in the first couple lineups I built, he was pretty easy to get into, and a lot of people, like I said, starting 28th. Really, if we look, he hasn't shown a ton of upside in this package this year. Highest finish is 18th so far. So I don't think he's going to have a slate breaking day, but he's like Brandon said, he's going to be a nice and safe pick option. Should maybe probably run around top 18, top 19 or so. I think a guy who's interesting here, skip down to Eric Jones, starting 22nd. I know this is a different car than what he's raced in the past. It's a different equipment, but this is one of his better tracks. 5 top 5s in 8 races. And I know we saw Darlington this year. Darlington's a track that Jones is typically really good at, and we were worried we know he's typically good here, but now he's in this equipment. And he actually showed and had a pretty good run there. And I think we could see the same this week at Pocono starting 22nd. I don't think a lot of people is going to be on him. There's a lot of guys starting a lot further back than him. And he's actually showed some speed in this 550 horsepower package with a couple of nice, 16th, 10th place finishes.
So I thought the same thing at Darlington, and he was pretty highly owned at Darlington. That's my main concern.
No, I mean, I guess that's what got me off of him at Darlington because I was concerned about his car. Like, people still play him because I think he was starting a lot further back than 22nd, wasn't he? I think he was probably 28th or 29th. I could probably find it.
I don't remember, but I mean, I had the same thought as you. I like Jones here based on, I think he drives this track well, but like if I'm playing him because of that, people are going to play him based on his track history. I think we're in the same situation where he's going to be really high in ownership, maybe the 5th or 6th highest owned driver.
Yeah, like I said, we'll just see where people are starting to talk about it. Like I said, Custer, Priest, starting further back than him, cheaper than him. I mean, you know how people love those big numbers, man. I mean, you know how that goes, especially with a guy like Jones. So I don't know.
Thoughts on Daniel Suarez starting 14th at 6,500?
I think it's a great GPP play. I mean, I don't know if you're rolling out one lineup this week. I don't know if you're going to run Suarez out there because he does carry a lot of risk. But I mean, he's shown his upside. I mean, at that price, he can potentially run top 10. I mean, he can. This team's shown an ability to run top 10 and finish top 10. So, especially on a track where pit strategy is going to come to play at some point. Somebody's going to make a bold call, and this team seems to take some stabs. So.
Ryan Preece starts 31st. He is 6,200. Do we think he carries a decent amount of ownership? Because I was thinking initially that I think Briscoe carries the most ownership in this range, followed by him and then Eric Jones. I think those are probably the 3 highest owned guys in this range. What are your thoughts on Preece, Brandon, and potentially if you think he potentially could be high owned?
I think ownership probably goes Preece and Haley in this range. I know Haley's 59, but I think that's where it goes because. Sure, Briscoe's very attractive, but when you're building a lot of lineups, you end up needing that last guy, and it's usually below 6,300, and so it's either between Custer, Preece, and Haley, and so I think that's where ownership's going to fall.
What am I missing on Haley?
What are you missing on Haley?
Why is people going to play Haley? Is he in a different car?
He's starting 34th, man.
I didn't know if he was in like a Ganassi car or something crazy.
No, and there's. A lot of the early lineups that I did use somebody in the 5K range, and so it's either Newman, Alfredo, or Haley here. And so
much rather play Newman or McDowell than Haley. Don't they have a lot more upside?
Okay, well let's talk about Newman. You guys want to talk about Truex? Let's talk about how Newman struggles here. Man, he sucks. Man, this last month and a half has been horrible.
Yeah, one's 10.7, the other's 5,800.
Almost dead last in the All-Star race. I mean, he's got a 33rd, a 27th. I mean, what is Newman doing over here? Let me find more of him because I just texted out.
I just know isn't this weird price tag $5,800? I mean, for Newman, I mean that's dirt cheap for a guy who's already seen his 16th, 13th, 18th, 7th in this package this year. I mean, Roush, we've seen them have good cars in this package.
Yeah. I feel like Haley gets played more than we're expecting though. Really do.
All right, well let's go through these guys that are sub 6K and see what other guys might be some interest in, because I think this is the final range of guys. So as you mentioned, Justin Haley's 59, Newman's 58, McDowell 56, Alfredo 54, Davison 52, Cody Ware's 5K, Balicki 49, McLeod 48, Quinn Hall 47, Smithley 46, and Timmy Hill 45. Jason, is Newman or McDowell the lowest you're going this week most likely?
That's probably where I'm going to be looking at for value is Newman and McDowell. I mean, these guys have both shown the ability to run top 20 this year in this package, and I think they both have had good runs at Indy, but good runs at Pocono. Tracks similar in the last couple of years recently, and to be priced below 6K is pretty criminal. I mean, I know obviously they have some risk because if they can fall back, finish 22nd, 23rd, it can hurt your lineup. But I think they can run right around where they're starting, which is not bad for the salary, the price tag you're getting them at. Like I said, this is salary that we've paid for James Davison at points this season. I mean, look, Haley's priced more than these guys. I can't believe Haley's priced more than these guys. It's crazy.
Brandon, so you'd rather play Haley over Newman and McDowell?
He said that.
I'd rather play Alfredo between those guys.
He has shown some speed recently.
I'm gonna be. My projections are really even on Haley and Newman right now, but I'll probably have a lot of Alfredo.
And is Alfredo the lowest you're gonna go?
Yeah, it'll be the lowest I go.
Okay. All right. Anything else for this first race before we briefly touch the second race? I think we covered most of it.
I think we got through most of it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's go over the second race real quick. We're just going to kind of explain the strategy for it and kind of what you're going to look for in the first race and potentially what you care about going into the second race, what you don't care about. So the second race, 140 laps as opposed to 130 laps. 30 lap stage 1, 55 stage 2, 55 stage 3. As Brandon said, everyone's kind of expecting, the reporters have put it out that they expect it to be inverting the top 20, 21 to 38 to use the formula. So let's go off that expectation that that's what's going to happen. Jason, what are you going to look for in the first race, and how are you going to look to build a lineup in the second race?
I mean, essentially, you're just going to look at, who was fast. I mean, who you'll be watching the race, and you'll be able to see who had the best cars. I mean, if we look at last year at Pocono, the flip flop, if they do the invert, the guys who finished 1, 2, 3 the first race and who started 20th, 19th, and 18th in the second race, they all three were optimal. They're all three in the optimal lineup. So I mean, this just shows to show you that position differential they pick up with their fast cars is just you're just to play them. And there's going to be that there's just no way around it. Granted, like last year you had Almirola who was 7,200, who maybe made it a little easier to fit it in. I don't know if we're going to get that kind of situation this week, unless it's like somebody like a Chastain finishes third for 6,200 and then he gets flopped to like 18th.
Brandon, what do you look for in this first race, and how are you going to kind of build for the second race?
I'm playing the fast guys from the first race. I think it just boils down to that. I'm not really going to look too wild here. Like, I still think Hamlin is too cheap at 10.5 for the second race. Ryan Blaney at 9.2. I mean, William Byron, it should, for me, it seems like William Byron's going to be optimal in the second race. Just because I think Byron's probably going to finish 5th in the first race, start 15th at $9,000. That's just where you go.
Yeah, or if he finishes fucking second, it means to be a lock.
Yeah, like, I mean, I don't know why they release salaries for this. I mean, I guess they can't wait till Sunday, but they should have just made everybody $11,000 for like the top 20, and then everybody else at like 8 or something. Because I
don't understand like why they don't like just make the same like salary. Like, why do they try to like guess and change it for the next race? It's weird. I know the starting position is gonna be a little different, but you're kind of going to try to like guess where they're going to finish and then where they're going to get inverted to, and if there's an invert, we don't even know for sure.
Isn't that like that's just dumb? Like, why is it that we're like, well, we think it's going to be like this? Like,
that's
oh man,
dumb.
Jason, will the roster construction of the first race, the optimal, potentially change how you look at the second race in terms of if there's maybe one true dominator or if there's two split dominators, or that you're just going to...
No, I don't think so, because you got to think the second race, we're going to see guys who are the fast cars starting in the back, right? So it's going to take them a little bit long to get up there, and I think you're going to... If we look at dominator points, the way they played out, let's just see. The first race last year, you had guys that were optimal who got dominator points were Almirola and Harvick. Almirola got 28, Harvick got 12, and then in the second race you had Hamlin and Harvick. Hamlin got 22, and Harvick got 11. Hamlin and Harvick started 20th and 19th that race.
Hamlin had 14 dominator points in the first race too, because he finished second.
Oh, I had 13 here. Okay, yeah, 13, 12, and 18, 28 is what I have here. Okay, I missed it. Probably because I didn't have a decimal there, so my mind skipped over it, and the other two had decimals.
Sorry.
But that's funny is you keep talking about Hamlin's price. Is if we looked at him at the first race at Pocono last year, he started third, and for some reason was priced at $8,800.
Yeah, and second race he was 10-2, and it just that's why I'm like he's underpriced this week at 97.
Yeah, he definitely is underpriced this week, especially because, like I said, he's gonna run a little better here.
I liked Hamlin. I mean, entering the week, I was just like, all right, I like Hamlin a lot. I even said in the video I made this morning, I think Hamlin should be one of the highest owned or highest priced guys. I thought he'd be the highest, honestly.
But yeah, and the other thing about, I guess, the second race we're looking at, if a guy struggles or like wrecks out early and looks like he's going to be an obvious play, probably going to play him. I mean, if we look at Jones, he obviously had trouble in the first race last year, started 38th. I mean, he was in that prime spot for $7,400, and obviously he was optimal. And then Bowman, who struggled the first race, started 27th, and he ended up optimal for 8,500. So, I mean, you're going to have guys who are going to struggle and are going to start in the back, and you're just going to have to – it's going to be, playing those guys who are fast or starting in the back, and then playing the guys who struggled who are starting in the back, and probably split the pot 100 different ways. Because I'm pretty sure these are normally very, very chalky, the invert races.
Mm-hmm. All right, anything else on this second race before we get into the two and done?
Just, I mean, the second race is, like I said, play the good guys, and it's just a spitting image of last year. And so look at last year's ownership, or look at last year's race for the second race, and look at who checked certain boxes, like who was fast, who was supposed to lead, who was supposed to get place differential, and then use that exact same formula and look at this second race this week and circle the same guys who copy that. Like, it won't be the same names, but the same drivers in those situations. Because this week is exactly like last year, like to a T. Like that is all I'm looking at in terms of lineup construction.
So this might be a dumb question, but do all these teams have backup cars, or is there anybody that would, if they potentially crash in the first race, you might not look to use them in the second race? Or, I mean, obviously I know all the major teams, they have backup cars. The smaller teams, do these guys have backup cars too, or how would that work for a doubleheader?
Yeah, so everybody's bringing the same car, and I said this in the video too because I got asked about this like yesterday. So NASCAR does not want you using a backup car. They want you to use the quote unquote same engine, same car. But if you look at last year, 8 drivers in the second race ran a backup car or changed cars or went to the rear of the field to either change transmission or motor or backup car in general. Like, I am not concerned about that at all. For
Jason, no concern there for you?
No, I don't really look too much into that. I figure these guys they put a lot of money into it, and their backup car is going to be just as good as their first car normally. Like, that's never really played out, like a guy going to backup and like struggled, like, oh shit, 'cause he's in that shit car now. God damn it, why did we bring the shit one? Of all weeks, we brought the shit back up, and we actually needed it. Like, they don't think like that,
And remember, like 2002, where they'd be like, oh man, he wrecked his primary in practice. He's going to finish 30th this week.
Yeah, it used to matter.
All right, two and done this week. So we talked about this before the podcast. So what we're going to do, we're going to pick one driver. It'll only count as using him once, and it'll be the total accumulated points between the two races. So let's go over last week first from Nashville. Jason, you had Christopher Bell. He had 28 points. Brandon, you had Tyler Reddick. He had 19 points, and I had Austin Dillon, who had 40 points.
What the 40 points? Are you good cooking the books over there?
You got to feed the right pockets, wet the right beaks.
What did he finish, like 15th? How did he score 40 points?
Wait, he got the stage points. Remember?
Yeah, second, fifth, and like 12th or something.
Your guy was a stinker, and my guy decided to wreck and get trapped a lap down.
And it was funny because the majority of it, until Reddick got trapped a lap down, like Reddick was, closer to the front.
Bell scratched and clawed his way up to a top 10 for me. Okay,
he's struggling. He's struggling too.
So all right. So speaking of struggling, Brandon, you are in last place with 547.
I know. I'm about to lay the law down.
You put that one on a T for me. That was good. I appreciate that. You put that one right on a T for me. I'm in second place, 576 points. Jason, you are in first place, 598 points. So Brandon, as both the person who had the least amount of points last week and the least amount of points throughout the year, you have first pick.
No.
Who would you like?
It's bad enough that some people don't even think I fucking played lineups. I don't know if you guys saw that. So I need to ask you, because I don't know who I've played and who I haven't at this point. Have I played Hamlin yet?
Yes, you've played Hamlin once.
Have I played Harvick?
You have played Harvick once.
Okay, I'm pretty sure I've played everybody that I want. Have I played Truex?
You have played Truex.
Okay, well I'm gonna burn Hamlin.
Okay.
I'll play Hamlin for my last time this year. I think he does pretty well this week.
Denny Hamlin. All right, Jason. Who are you taking this week?
I'm going to take Martin Truex. No, I'm just give me Kyle Larson. I'll take the doubler and Kyle Larson. I'll burn it.
Kyle Larson for Jason. And I am also going to burn somebody and use him for the second time. I'm going to take William Byron.
Nice.
All right.
All right,
So
let's do some real talk. We got rid of Gordon. Can we all celebrate now? He's gone.
What the
Gordon-
fuck is
so yeah, so
HMS thinking?
that's that. So I guess Gordon is the vice president of motorsports operations. Seems like he's second in charge. Yeah, Jason, you kind of asked it. I mean, it seems like they're trying to fix something that's not broken.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing. I think it's probably just like a for show position, right? I think maybe like Gordon maybe realized the booth wasn't for him, and like this is kind of
Come
his
by
way
the
out
gift
of
shop.
it.
Jeff
I
Gordon
don't
will be
know.
signing autographs.
Yeah, maybe something like that. I don't know. Like, I don't know if Gordon knows how to make those cars go fast. Maybe he does. Maybe I'm just being an asshole here, and he's
Did
like
you see
over
that? That
there,
was.
like
Did you see
turning
Tony Stewart
wrenches.
say that?
What?
They asked him like about how Stuart Haas hasn't been having the fastest cars and how he's been in like SRX, and he was like, "I take that as a compliment that you think I can go to the track and like suddenly make the car go fast."
Yeah, I did see that.
Brandon, go ahead, celebrate. Jeff Gordon's out of the booth. That's what you
No,
wanted.
that's it, man. We don't gotta listen to his fake laugh.
But who's they gonna get in there? That's
And he
the fucking
wheezes.
question.
And do we think they keep Boyer?
Yeah, I don't know why they get rid of Boyer.
So who do we think moves in there? I saw rumors people were talking about Kevin Harvick.
No,
Well,
Harvick's still
he's-
racing.
Yeah,
That's
he's
what
still
I.
locked
Yeah,
in,
that's.
and
Everyone
they'll
seems
probably-
to think he's retiring. I don't know why.
They'll probably. I mean, I want him to retire because he hates this racing now. But they'll probably put somebody dumb like Jamie McMurray in there. Where they should just put Larry Mack. It should just be Larry, Joe, Mike, and Boyer.
I wish Joey Logano would retire and get in the booth because I think he's really good in the booth. I don't know. I like watching Logano in the booth. Maybe that's just me.
It's so fun. Like Logano is pretty good. I'm convinced nobody likes him.
I don't
He's
know why.
Logano. He's one of those guys.
No. Like in the field, like
Oh,
racers. Like
yeah.
it seems
I'll tell-
like whenever him and Harvick are together, like, and whenever Joey's with like other drivers, other than Blaney and Keselowski, like there's like real like tension. Like it's not like, oh, you know.
I'll tell you what I think
You
it is.
suck. Like
I think it's
like
at no fault of his own. When Joey Logano talks, I just immediately know I'm the second smartest person in the room. I think that's just there's something of like that like can rub people the wrong way. Of like he's not even trying to be smart, but just like when he's on the booth, he's going in. I don't know. Maybe if I'm wrong, Jason, but it just sounds like he goes into a lot more detail, and it sounds like he's much more, about the. I don't know, the mechanics.
I don't know. Maybe I think he's probably just rubbed a lot of guys the wrong way. I don't know. I think he had an attitude kind of when he came into the sport. And I know if you just see the way he talks, I'm sure he's probably a dickhead that's behind the scenes to people. As far as like, you can just tell his mannerisms. I bet you can be a real asshole at times. And I'm sure he's probably said some things to some of these guys back when he was younger and a hothead, because he used to get into it with everybody. If you remember, Logano was always into it with somebody. And that's probably why. I'm sure he's not the most popular guy in the garage.
yeah, like I don't know, man.
Any other NASCAR or anything other kind of news related things that I missed? I think there's only thing
Alvin
I saw.
Kamara is now a NASCAR employee, right? You guys see that?
I love the outrage that it's like, oh, of course you bring it. It's like they're trying to grow the sport. Like let them try and grow the sport.
What is
what's
it?
wrong with some
engagement advisor or something?
Yeah, it's brand activation. It's what it is. They're trying to get people. It's no different than when other companies hire people and put them on a billboard. It's
I get
trying to reach a new fan base.
I mean, brand recognition. I got a tip for him. Is he or whatever? He needs to get into DFS and start showing NASCAR how beneficial DFS can be for the growth of the sport. If he's
just show him all those Twitters and be like, hey man, I got a bunch of these death threats because I only scored 19.8 points on DraftKings when I was $9,900. Alvin Kamara.
Oh yeah, he's probably not so.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, that's yeah. He doesn't care.
It obviously not necessarily in that way with Kamara, but in terms of building the sport, Jason, that is golf has done that. They've made DraftKings a huge part of their official partners with it. They put prices out every week, like on the broadcast. They talk about it. I really think that that's like NASCAR when they feed into that and the betting aspects. I think that's really how you have to grow the sport, right?
I think NASCAR would benefit from having like a segment about it, like in the pre-race, like, where they talk about drivers for 5 minutes or so, where like if they had content on their site, like if NASCAR.com had NASCAR content, and had the resources there for stats, maybe put me out of business. I don't care. But, I think if they embraced it in that way, I think it could be huge for the sport. But I mean, that's asking a lot. And plus it's gambling and it's NASCAR, and that's very forward thinking. But I think they need to embrace, I don't think they really discredit DFS though. I keep saying embrace it. I just think they could be doing more at the track. They could do free rolls at the track for DraftKings, but I guess this would require DraftKings wanting to come on board and putting up some money too, right?
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think betting's a pretty bad image on NASCAR. You don't want to introduce that to kids, and I mean, I think that'd be a terrible route to go. But do you want to win Boyer's money? Pick these drivers at the end of the stage. Join Fox Bet. So I think that's the issue they're on, is that they Fox, certainly they care more about Fox Bet and getting that legalized and expanded throughout the states, and then NBC has their fantasy live stuff. I think that's why we haven't seen DraftKings really be able to get into that, other than a couple years ago we saw them in the pre-race shows talking about lineups and stuff. But I think they're really trying to focus on Fox Bet and their own stuff that they're involved in, the networks versus DraftKings and things like that.
Right, and I guess if you're Fox, right? I mean, obviously you care about your viewership, but you're not really worried as much about growing NASCAR I guess in a way they two come hand in hand, but Fox is always looking out for Fox before they're looking out for NASCAR. They can drop NASCAR at the end of the contract if the numbers aren't there. They're not worried about NASCAR being successful for the next 20 years.
All right. Anything else before we wrap this up?
No, I guess not. Ryan's
I mean,
to go home.
I mean, no, but nobody said anything.
Let's see. Anybody have anything interesting happen in their life this weekend or this week?
Yeah, I took down the 20 max.
That's right.
Last week.
We didn't fucking talk about it. Why didn't we lead
Oh
with
yeah,
this?
yeah.
He took down the fucking $1.20 max this week. Nice thing. Looky there. That's
there you go. I totally forgot about that.
That's awesome. A takedown.
Why didn't you open with that? You gotta
definitely open with that.
I don't know. I'm just the host. You guys are the analysts. I'm using your information for the most part. I told Jason though, I did the one thing that I was.
That's right. That's where it started.
Set.
That's why I got so much shit on Twitter. Yeah. Okay. I remember now.
What?
Okay. That's why. That's what started it all. I think that's why I forgot you won that. Because I had to deal with my own shitstorm after that.
I don't know what shitstorm we're talking about. Let's talk about that. What are we talking about here? What's shitstorm?
Well, we're just having. I mean, I assume this guy's. I'm assuming they're wanting me to blow him. I'm assuming 9. I'm assuming their dick size is 9, because we're just having a dick measuring contest over here on Twitter about lineups and stuff. And I mean,
asking for your lineup.
Yeah,
and all that.
I mean, that's really all it is.
I played 50% Quinn Hoff and I took down the 20. So it's it all takes is one lineup. I had a bunch of Hoff.
And I mean, that's why I said earlier, I had Hoff, and then I had Hoff didn't kill you. You still scored well with Hoff. I just happened to play a lot of Bowman, a lot of Blaney. I made, and I whiffed. I had a rough week. I mean, that's basically all it is. It's just, we're just having more dick measuring contests. But I'm pretty sure that's why I didn't acknowledge that you won the 20 max.
Well, it was one of those weeks where it was lucky that it's I had a decent amount of Busher and Blaney, but they were all together. So it's those lineups just were dead on dead. That's kind of where that was. But the one thing that I was back and forth on was Chastain. I was always going to play him, but it was a question of how much. I was going between 30 and 60, 70% in terms of the 20 max. I started at 35 and ended up playing 55% Chastain. So that was kind of the one that kind of took me over, obviously, with him at the end. And I will say, I did look it up. I almost had a heart attack because Kurt Busch dropping one more spot would have completely screwed that. Run out of gas at the end, and he was chucking along.
Everybody ran out of
that
gas.
finish line.
Wild.
You're not. Yeah. At least you're not like my dumbass, to where I put out a core of Chastain, Newman, Larson, and who is the fucking other obvious play? Kurt Busch. That was my core 4 that I put out this week, right? So I played different. My main lineup that I put out, I paired with fucking Bowman, and Priest. So everybody posted takedowns of all their takedowns with my core. In my lineup, I put fucking Bowman and Priest in my core and fucking just.
I'm pretty sure mine was Larson, Hoff, and Reddick.
That was your core.
that was my highest projected 3 that I put out there, and so I was like, man, and I hate those weeks, man. I hate those when I'm so confident I put it as a core and then it just fucking it fails.
Yeah, that's what's rough about this. This is what like I don't think like a lot of people realize. Like obviously, like I know like we're putting it out there, right? So we should deserve maybe some of the heat. But I mean, like we feel like you don't have to fucking tell us when we miss. Like we know. Like I hate that when somebody says, yeah, that pick wasn't good. Like, yeah, no fucking shit. Like I know like that pick was bad because I guess what? I got him too.
Hey bro,
if you follow anybody on Twitter,
$50 1v1 me head to head me, bro. How about you play the 15? Because that's what I'm playing. Just head to head me there.
Yeah.
Then you can play against me, Awesome, Jason. Just play against us all.
anybody on Twitter that makes it seem like this is easy, you might not want to follow them because they're probably doing something wrong or they're probably lying to you, because NASCAR, I would argue, is maybe the hardest DFS sport in terms of the variance. But DFS in general, it's just like Jason said, we go out on a limb and we put our picks out there and we put our thoughts and we do all of that. But it's like nobody's hitting at 100% rate, especially in NASCAR.
Yeah. I also said, like, do people forget, or maybe they're just purposely being assholes, but we only got like 19% of the $15 contest being paid out. Like 81% of people are not making money in that contest.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I think the vast majority of people obviously lose week to week. So.
And I think you play NASCAR for the big cash, not for the min cash, just like you do other sports.
Yeah, we're trying to finish first one time between the 3 series the whole year.
Mission complete. Check for Ryan.
Check. Yeah. I just don't give it all back. That's the.
I was gonna say,
don't raise your units.
No, this probably brought me right to back to about even for the year.
Did you solo take it or did you tie?
No, it was like 14 people.
Oh, that sucks, man.
It was.
I think better than not winning.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what his first payout. I think it's 1,000. I think it's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, and I think it was like 350 is what I got. So.
Sucks, but it was $1, right? Obviously.
Yeah. I had.
Was that at 27,000 people?
35,000, I think.
Wow, I don't even enter that contest.
That $20 max is the best contest you can enter, to be honest, Brandon.
Yeah.
Like I know you don't like if you made 20 lineups and put it in that, it always returns a better ROI than the $4. Always.
Well, it's because it pays out 27.
Except for this week where my lineup
it does. That's what I mean. It's a better contest to enter. I know it sucks because the buy-in and it doesn't really pay big, but I mean, as far as return on your investment, it always pays out more.
Yeah, I mean, a $20 investment, I had $390 back. It's a decent ROI.
Yeah.
So what happens when you take it down?
Rare, But even like you said,
our first takedown on the podcast? I think as far as like a big GPP takedown, I think it is, right? Did you take one down this year? Came close, right?
No, I finished 11th, 12th, somewhere at Atlanta. That's right. Twice this year.
Yeah, I took down.
But I haven't won
a single entry for trucks this year, but that was like 300 or 400 people. It wasn't like 25,000 people.
I think I won 1,300 at Atlanta. I could be wrong. I don't remember.
That's like almost like my thinking of it is like, I don't want to like downplay like the fact of like winning money, but like just like telling yourself like I just beat like 35,000 people. Like that's kind of like that's almost in terms of playing those big contests, like that's the
with my core.
Well, the thing that I hate is like after you do that, I saw someone in Discord be like, man, if you would have put that in the 121, you would have taken that down.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I was like, well, that is not in my budget. I wish I could.
Right. So that's what I was saying is that I did go and look, and it was gonna take down like basically all the other contests, but it wasn't like a what if because I don't ever play those contests. It wasn't like I play those contests all the time and like right. It wasn't like I play it wasn't like I play one of those other contests and like this week I decided just to play this one and do 20 max. It's like this is the one I play every week. Like that's what I'm for.
Whereas like if it was me and say I skipped the 15 this week and I just 20 max the $1 and then I win that one, and then like, oh, well, you would have won the 15. I probably would just kill myself right then and there.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that would be bad if you split for $350 on that one, and when you could have won
yeah,
50,000 in the other one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would've been bad.
Well, that was
I did
the
have what was it? The Xfinity Series race. I think this week I was one driver swap away from fucking winning the 10,000. And I think I had him in there originally. I forget the scenario, but I'm pretty sure it was a bad beat. I remember it.
I know we don't talk a whole lot about Xfinity and Truck here, but these contests for Xfinity and Truck, like, I would really advise, like, if you play $200 a week for NASCAR, aim a lot of it towards Xfinity and Trucks this week, because you have a super small contest, 5,000 people. Like, you can obviously only one person's going to take it down, but your chances here in this $5,000 contest for both Xfinity and Trucks is a lot higher than, those 8,000, those 9,000, those 10,000. Like, I love the smaller contests for the two series.
Why fucking Trucks can fuck off? Truck Series can fuck off.
Oh yeah, that's another, man. How about that? Be like, yeah, I thought, we're all like, yeah, Trucks, it's gonna be a wreck fest, and then it's not a wreck fest. You fucking morons.
Somebody called you a moron?
Well, everybody, because I think everybody who covered Trucks at Texas, we all kind of looked at the trends, and we're like, yeah, Texas is gonna be a wreck fest, and then people were like, man, those guys are idiots. I knew it was gonna be a wreck fest. Well, come on, that's how super speedways are. Sometimes that's a wreck fest, sometimes it isn't. Like,
I mean, this is like, goddamn, like, I don't know why people give you shit. That's just crazy.
No. Like I'm giving that like across the board.
I got you.
The Truck Series, I'm pretty sure myself, I'm pretty sure Nate Lane, Fast Cars, I'm pretty sure we all kind of touched on, hey, this should be a wreck fest, and it wasn't. And then, that's kind of how it is.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, but trucks have just kicked my ass this year. I don't know. It just seems like it's always just I never know how the fuck that race is gonna go.
They like to wreck, man. For poor people with no money, they like to tear shit up.
Wad the shit up out of some fucking trucks, won't they? And it's just like, good lord, like, that is probably the most tilting series to do, because if there's a fucking caution with 50 laps to go, it's like, everything's done. It's over. Like, everything's over. Everybody's wrecking.
It's gotten worse. Like, Darlington was the epitome of the Truck Series. They just want to wreck.
Yeah. And even good cars too, fucking throwing it. But that's why I like the Truck Series though too, because it's like they're gonna put it 3 wide going into fucking turn 1 right away on the restart, and like Creed's gonna push it harder than he can handle it, and he's gonna fucking lose. That's what's worst thing about playing Creed is like you gotta play the guy, he can run, but like when he's running up front and he's putting it out on the outside, it's like, oh fuck. And like you can see him wrecking before he even enters the corner. He's gonna wreck. It's every time I play Creed, it's like, oh fuck, he's about to wreck, and then sure enough, he comes off the corner and sideways, slams off the wall into the car, wrecks the whole fucking field.
Yeah, man.
That's why I never played Creed. That's why I never used to play him. And then like he got on this run of just being a beast last year. And it's like, okay, now we got to play him, and now he wants to fucking wreck again.
It's funny, man. That series is wild, absolutely wild. Or I know because I played Chastain this last weekend, and they pitted to take tires because they weren't gonna pit again, and they were just waiting for a wreck. It never came. It never happened, man. So they got stuck like 24th, just saving tires.
Yeah.
That's why that's almost more tilting of when I think they're gonna wreck and they haven't wrecked the entire race, and then it's like 10 to go, and I'm like, how did you guys not wreck here? Like, this should be a race you should wreck in, and it's not.
That's always the craziest. It's always like you said, what you don't think is gonna happen when you think it's like, oh, they're definitely gonna fucking wreck the shit up out of these cars this week, and it's like, well, we're gonna run green this whole race. Or when you think like there shouldn't be very many incidents this week, it's gonna run green. I don't imagine a lot of chaos. You almost have to like preface every article of the Truck Series that this could get ugly. So you should always make a couple lineups for the just in case this race gets ugly, because it can happen.
Yeah, you should do it for every series, but assume the Truck Series money is gone. Just assume you're not cashing in that series, and enjoy these idiots.
All right, we're an hour and a half into this. So, Jason, speaking of trucks, Xfinity, all of that, where can they find your information?
Free NASCARDFS.com. I think that's still up and running. Yeah, and then you can find me on Twitter at DFS NASCAR. I think we obviously know the light-ups and everything now, so I'm going to try to get the articles out a little earlier than I normally do, just so I'm not rushing trying to write them all on Friday night. But we'll see. I might write them and then just wait to release them till Saturday morning, just so that I don't throw anybody off. But yeah, free NASCARDFS.com, at DFS NASCAR on Twitter.
Brandon, remind them where they can find all your stuff.
And I'm going to sleep in about 20 minutes, so I'll be up at 4 a.m. tomorrow, and I'll have all the videos out on my YouTube channel probably tomorrow morning for the first Cup Series race, the Xfinity Series race, and the truck race. And then I'll be live both mornings this weekend, so you can find me there. Brandon Cruz, DFS on YouTube.
And everyone, make sure you remember to check out my website as well, betwithbommel.com. Not just NASCAR bets, but gambling tips across all sports. UFC, NFL when it comes back, soccer with yours going on right now. And then make sure you follow me on Twitter as well, Gambling DFS Tips. As always, thank you guys for listening on whatever platform that you guys listen on. Like, rate, review, subscribe, upvote. It all helps us, keeps it free, and keeps us, providing the information to you guys on a weekly basis. So we will be back next week. We are at Road America, I believe, for the July 4th weekend. So on behalf of Jason and Brandon, I am Ryan Baumel. Thank you guys for listening, and hopefully someone takes something down this week.
Road course.
What are you rambling about? Well, he's trying to end the show.
So he just reminded me of a road course on 4th of July. What the fuck is that? That's not NASCAR.
That's as NASCAR as it gets.
A road course on 4th of fucking July.
Yeah, man.
Jesus Christ. Give me Daytona.
We gotta be inclusive. We gotta
Give me
turn
the
left and right nowadays.
Gotta go slow enough so they can eat a hot dog while they're driving.